Page 45. Don't look down on the defilement. When pain, unpleasant sensations and emotions. When you experience pains, aches and other bodily discomforts, it means you have a mental resistance to them, and therefore you are not ready yet to observe these unpleasant physical sensations directly. Nobody likes pain, and if you observe it while still feeling any resistance towards it, it will become worse. It is like when you are angry with someone. If you look at that person again and again, you will become even angrier. So never force yourself to observe pain. This is not a fight. It is a learning opportunity. You are not observing pain to lessen it or to make it go away. You are observing it, especially your mental reactions to it, in order to understand the connection between your mental reactions and your perception of the physical sensations. Check your attitude first. Wishing for the pain to decrease or go away is the wrong attitude. It does not matter whether the pain goes away or not. Pain is not the problem. Your negative mental reaction to it is the problem. If the pain is caused by some kind of injury, you should of course be careful not to make things worse. But if you're well and healthy, pain is simply an important opportunity to practice watching the mind at work. When there is pain, the mental feelings and reactions are strong and therefore are easy to observe. Learn to watch anger or resistance, tension or discomfort in your mind. If necessary, alternate between checking your feelings and the attitude behind your resistance. Keep reminding yourself to relax the mind and the body and observe how it affects your mental resistance. There is a direct link between your state of mind and pain. The more relaxed and calm the observing mind, the less intense you will perceive the pain to be. Of course, if your mind reacts strongly to the pain, if you experience pain as unbearable, you should change your posture and make yourself comfortable. So if you want to learn how to deal with pain skillfully, try this. From the moment you start feeling pain, no matter how weak it is, check your mind and body for tension and relax. Part of your mind will remain aware of the pain. So check for tension again and again and relax. Also check your attitude and keep reminding yourself that you have the choice to change your posture if you experience too much pain, as this will make the mind more willing to work with it. Keep repeating this until you no longer feel you want to watch the tension, the fear, the desire to get up, or the unwillingness to stay with the pain. Let me repeat. Keep repeating this until you no longer feel you want to watch the tension, the fear, the desire to get up, or the unwillingness to stay with the pain. Now you should change your posture. Okay. When you are able to bear with pain, it does not mean that you are equanimous. Most of us start off by trying hard to sit for a fixed period of time, forcing ourselves not to move. If we succeed to sit for that full hour, we feel great. Otherwise, we feel we have failed. we usually try to bear the pain longer and longer, i.e., we work on increasing our threshold of pain. However, in this process, we neglect watching the mind, and we're not really aware of our mental reactions to the pain. We fail to realize that developing a high threshold of pain does not mean that the mind is not reacting to the pain. If you stop forcing yourself to sit for a fixed period of time and instead start watching the mental reactions in the ways described above, your resistance to the pain will gradually decrease and your mind will become more equanimous. Understanding the difference between equanimity and being able to bear with pain is really important. Mindfulness meditation is not about forcing, but about understanding. Real equanimity is the result of true understanding of the nature of liking and disliking through observation and investigation. It is best to look at pain directly only if you cannot feel a resistance to it. Keep in mind that there may be a reaction at a subtle level. As soon as you recognize mental discomfort, turn your attention to that feeling. If you can see subtle mental discomfort, watch it change. Does it increase or decrease? As the mind becomes more equanimous and sensitive, it will recognize subtle reactions more easily. When you look at mental discomfort at a more subtle level, you may get to the point when your mind feels completely equanimous. If you look at pain directly, and if there is true equanimity, mental discomfort will not arise anymore. Remember that you're not looking at the reactions of the mind to make them go away. Always take reactions as an opportunity to investigate their nature. Ask yourself questions. How do they make you feel? What thoughts are in your mind? How does what you think affect the way you feel? How does what you feel affect the way you think? What is the attitude behind the thoughts? How does any of this change the way you perceive pain? Try to apply the relevant points mentioned above to deal with any other physical discomfort such as itching and feeling hot or cold. Moreover, whatever skills we learn in dealing with our reactions to physical discomfort can also be applied in dealing with defilement such as emotions of anger, frustration, jealousy, disappointment, or rejection, as well as happiness, pleasure, lust, or attachment. They and all their relatives, even their distant ones, should be dealt with in similar ways as pain. You need to learn to recognize and let go of both attachment and aversion. When you investigate such emotions, it is important that you remind yourself that they are natural phenomena. They're not your emotions. Everybody experiences them. You always need to keep this in mind when you examine the thoughts and mental images that accompany emotions. Any thoughts you identify with actually fuel the emotions. However, when the emotion you experience is very strong, you might not be able to look at the accompanying thoughts without getting even more emotional. In such a case, it is usually best to first become very clearly aware of and to look at the pleasant or unpleasant feelings and sensations that accompany the emotion. But if you find even looking at these feelings and sensations too overwhelming, you could turn your attention to a neutral or pleasant object, for example, your breath or a sound. Doing this will skillfully distract the mind and to stop it from thinking, or will at least reduce thinking. You will no longer be so involved in the story, and therefore the emotion will subside. But do not completely ignore those feelings and sensations. Take a look at them every now and then. When a strong emotion has subsided, or when you're looking at a weak emotion, you will be able to look at the feelings, the thoughts, plus the bodily sensations. The better you understand how they all interrelate, the more skillfully and effectively you will be able to handle any kind of emotion. Don't forget to check your attitude. Check to see whether you really accept the emotion or whether you have a resistance towards it. Any unnoticed resistance to and any unnoticed identification with the emotion will feed it, will make it grow bigger, like a snowball effect. Remember that the emotions do not need to go away at all. Remember that the emotions do not need to go away at all. The objective is to know what the emotions feel like, to know what you're thinking when there are emotions, and to understand their nature and the mind's behavior. A new chapter called The Continuity of Awareness. You need to be aware of yourself continuously, whatever posture you're in from the time you wake up until you fall asleep. Do not let your mind become idle or run freely. It is important that the mind keeps working, keeps being aware. Whatever you do, it is the awareness that is important. Continuity of awareness requires right effort. In our context, right effort means to keep reminding yourself to be aware. Right effort is persistent effort. It is not energy used to focus hard on something. It is effort which is simply directed at remaining aware, which should not require much energy. You do not need to know every detail of your experience. Just be aware and know what you are aware of. Ask yourself often, what am I aware of right now? Am I properly aware or only superficially aware? This will support continuity of mindfulness. Remember, it is not difficult to be aware. It is just difficult to do it continuously. Momentum is important to strengthen your practice, and this can only be achieved with continuity of mindfulness. With continuous right effort, mindfulness will slowly gain momentum and become stronger. When mindfulness has momentum, the mind is strong. A strong mind has right mindfulness, right concentration and wisdom. Make a consistent effort. Keep reminding yourself to be mindful, and your mindfulness will become more and more continuous. Why? At this point, you might feel overwhelmed by all the information that you have been asked to bear in mind while you meditate. Why do you need to know so much before even starting practice? Giving you all this information, all these suggestions, and all this advice basically serves one purpose only: to give you the right view or the right understanding that helps you to meditate with the right attitude. When you have the right understanding, you will naturally apply the right effort and develop right mindfulness and wisdom. The information you have accumulated and understood forms the basis for the views that you hold, and these influence the way the mind naturally operates in any situation. So, these are the essence of the practice. Develop a right understanding of the practice. Practice continuously. It is absolutely essential for the development of your practice. Relax. Have the right attitude and accept your experience just as it is. Be aware intelligently and recognize the defilements. Dhamma discussions. Dhamma discussions or meditation interviews give you an opportunity to share your meditation experiences with your teacher and get some advice. The teacher wants to know how you're doing, whether you're able to be relaxed and aware, whether your awareness is continuous, whether you can recognize your right and wrong attitudes, whether you can recognize and observe your reactions, how you feel, what you have understood, etc. Such information forms the basis for Dhamma discussions. Only if the teacher knows your strengths and weaknesses can he give you proper guidance for your practice. You can talk about where you're at and where you would like to be. You have to be true to yourself. If you report only on your good or only on your bad experiences, it will be difficult to give you the advice you need. Mindfulness gains momentum. When you are new to the practice, you will have to remind yourself often to be aware. At first, you will be rather slow in noticing that you've lost awareness and probably think that it is fairly continuous. But once your awareness becomes sharper, you will begin to notice that you actually lose it quite often. You might even get the impression that your awareness is getting worse, when in fact you're just becoming more aware of losing awareness. This is a step in the right direction. It shows that your awareness is getting better. So never give yourself a hard time. Simply accept where you're at and keep reminding yourself to be aware. Just reminding yourself to be aware or mindful, however, is not enough. In order for mindfulness to become stronger, you also need to have the right attitude, to have an observing mind free from defilements. Observing becomes difficult if, for example, you're worried about your progress. First, you need to become aware that this is a defilement, and then make it your object of observation. Whenever you experience doubt, uneasiness, dissatisfaction, tension, frustration, or elation, look at them, examine them. Ask yourself questions such as, what kinds of thoughts are in my mind? What is my attitude? This will help you to understand how the defilements affect you. You need patience, interest, and a sense of curiosity to do this. As you gradually become more skillful at observing with the right attitude, your mindfulness will become stronger and more continuous. This will help you gain more confidence in your practice. At this point, you will start seeing benefits, and the practice of mindfulness will become less work and more fun. You will find it easier to remind yourself to be mindful and to spot the defilements. As a result, mindfulness will become even more continuous, and over time, as the practice matures, mindfulness will gain momentum. Once your practice has momentum, you will remain aware naturally. This natural awareness has an almost tangible feel to it and gives you a sense of freedom you've never experienced before. You simply always know when it is there, and you experience it most of the time. In other words, you are aware of the awareness. The mind becomes an object of awareness. When you have this kind of momentum, the mind becomes more equanimous. Now, awareness will be strong, and you will need very little effort to sustain its momentum. You will always be aware of several different objects without conscious effort. For example, while washing your hands, you will probably notice movement, the touch and smell of the soap, and the sensation and sound of the running water. While knowing all this, you might become aware of the sensation of your feet touching the floor, hearing the loudspeakers blaring from the monastery across the field, or seeing stains on the wall and feeling an urge to wipe them off. While all this is happening, you might also be aware of any liking or disliking. Every time you wash your hands, you are of course likely to be aware of different objects. Natural awareness is constantly shifting, constantly sweeping around, letting go of some objects and taking in other objects, shifting from one set of objects to another. When you have natural awareness, it might feel as though things have slowed down, since you can now take in so many different objects. Whereas at the beginning of the practice, you struggled to be aware of only one or two objects. However, you can still lose your balance quite suddenly when you unexpectedly experience the stronger forms of greed or anger. The difference is that now the mind usually spots gross defilements or wrong attitudes very quickly, and they will then either dissolve immediately or at least immediately start losing their strength. You will still lose awareness. The mind can still wander off, or awareness can fade, but you usually become aware of this quite soon. Natural awareness snaps back into action. Before you get too excited though, here is a word of warning. It is not easy to get this kind of momentum. You cannot make it happen. You need to be patient. It is possible to experience momentum after meditating full time for only a few weeks, but it will not last very long. Maintaining momentum takes skill and practice. When you first get it, you're likely to lose it again within hours or minutes even. Never try to get it back. This can only happen naturally, simply through persistent practice. Most people will take many months or years to acquire the necessary skills and understanding to have natural awareness throughout the day. When your practice has momentum, concentration naturally becomes better. The mind is more stable. The mind also becomes sharper, more content, more simple and honest, more flexible and sensitive. It can usually spot the subtle defilements quite easily and yet still remain aware of other objects. Natural mindfulness not only enables you to become aware of many different objects, It also enables you to understand cause and effect, to observe details and to deal effectively with more subtle defilements. You might, for example, feel quite relaxed and calm while walking to the meditation hall, and then notice subtle restlessness during sitting meditation. The mind is now aware of the defilement, accepts the experience, and starts getting interested. The question, why is there restlessness, will probably come up. The mind then simply stays with this question. At the same time, you also explore any thoughts, feelings, and physical tensions which you know are somehow connected to the restlessness. Then, suddenly, you might understand that it is an accumulation of small incidences of stress, frustration, or elation that lies behind this restlessness and the physical tension. Ending at page 79.